So most of the people that are taking part today have seen my smiling face. There will be a certain number that haven't, and welcome. My law practice specializes in pretty much anything that families with kids with special needs and disabilities need. We do wills and trusts and taxes, hence and trusts, legal guardianship, ODSP applications, ODSP. We don't do a lot of appeals. We tend to be successful, but in the past we have done appeals. I think most people that are watching probably have had some involvement with the office. I'm pleased to invite Janet Flynn. Janet is with Prosper Canada, which is an organization that I hadn't come into contact with until perhaps a year ago, something like that. And by chance, I came across the Wayfinder software, which shows all sorts of possible sources of support and benefits for people. And I went through it with a profile of an 18+ person on ODSP. And I was very, very pleased. It lists all sorts of supports, so different kinds of programs. And then more importantly, I've always felt that it's one thing to tell somebody, oh, well, you can do this, apply to that program. But what you need is a link to the application form. The whole purpose of this event today is to be useful, not to just show how smart we are. So I look forward to Janet enlightening everyone. She's the manager of Prosper Canada's program delivery, which means that she's on the pointy end of the stick. And if you want to actually do this, what you have to do, you can proselytize and be an evangelist, that's all good. But what she does is she works with other organizations to then try to pass on this information to the people that are involved with those groups. And of course, it's a never-ending process. We were speaking just briefly before this, and Janet said that she thought she'd made perhaps 50 of these presentations. And that's, it's just an ongoing process. You have to make up partnerships and talk to people. It's not too late. If you wish to sign up for tomorrow's noon event, find the registration, the invite that you signed up with for this one. And if you wish, you can sign up for Wednesday, the noon hour show tomorrow, if you like. It'll be the same presentation, but we find that people find more information the second time they hear it. The recorded video will be sent to all registrants, as I say, and if you find people, people that could find it helpful, please pass it on. So with those words, I'm going to mute and close off my video. And we have a screen sharing. Can everybody see the screen that Janet has shared? I hope so. There we go. And so I'm going to mute and close off my video and carry on. And we don't need to make this any longer than it needs to be, but we think it'll be what, 45 minutes or perhaps an hour, Janet?
Yeah, about 45 minutes or so. Yeah.
Okay. And then there'll be time for questions. But I suspect that what's going to really happen is there will be questions in your mind, but that you'll contact Janet after the fact so that you can get some specific instructions. Otherwise, this is a demo of the Wayfinder and Compass programs. With that, I'll turn mine off and turn it over.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ken. And thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm really excited to share with you these tools that are hopefully going to help you and your family or your friends find out what benefits are out there that you may not already be aware of. They're to note that they're all free of charge and very user-friendly. So first, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about Prosper Canada, for those of you who are not familiar with us. We were founded back in 1986, and we're a national charity, and we're dedicated to expanding economic opportunity for Canadians living in poverty, or really any Canadian who wants to find out about benefits. And our mission is to work with other organizations and government to have products that are available that'll help people increase their financial well-being and have that access to them readily. So my presentation tonight, the goals that I have for you is to introduce you to the Benefit Wayfinder and the Disability Benefit Compass tools. Take you through a live demo of those on what they're for, what they can do, and how you yourself could use it, or if you're working with somebody else to take them through it to help them, show you the steps. What I'm going to do is in the Benefit Wayfinder, I'm going to use a persona, so an example person, and I'm going to walk through the same way that you yourself could walk through for yourself or for somebody else, and show you each of the step-by-step way to find out what the benefits are that you might be eligible for. And also, just give you some tips on how you can share the tool with others. At the end, I'm going to briefly introduce you to a couple of other tools that Prosper Canada had co-created with some other partners, Plan Institute, the RDSP Calculator, and the Future Planning Tool, which you may have heard about, but if not, I'll be really happy to introduce you to those today. So as I mentioned, that's essentially our goals for the evening. And you might ask yourself, why did you create the Benefits Wayfinder and the Disability Benefits Compass? Like, aren't these benefits on the government website already? Why would you create these? Well, there's really three reasons why we develop these tools. Missed income. In Canada, there's hard to imagine, but there's over, I think, $2 billion a year in benefits designed for people living on low income or moderate incomes that goes unclaimed every single year for many different reasons. People just aren't aware that they exist, or it might be due to the second reason here, a complex process to get them. So for example, disability benefits, as I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of, it's a very complex application. There's many steps involved in applying for disability benefits. It can be a very prolonged and grueling process that could take months, if not even years, to get through. You have to have medical practitioners involved in the steps to fill it out. And sometimes what we found is a lot of people don't even have a dedicated doctor or a doctor who can diagnose properly what the impact to daily living is to be able to have the application filled out completely. So we'll show you in these tools where there's tips to help overcome these kind of challenges that people encounter as they try to apply for benefits. And also there's an individual and frontline need. One thing that we heard a lot of when we were developing the tools with those who were going to use it was, they go into the websites that exist and, the information's there, but it's not necessarily written in plain language. Sometimes it's very hard to understand exactly what to do, or they might hear about one particular benefit and they can go directly to that one, but then, to find another benefit, they have to go to another site. So they're going to multiple places to try to find benefits, and trying to find things you don't know about is even more difficult. So these tools will help you find all these different benefits that exist, but tailored to your situation. Also, there's a frontline need. As Ken mentioned, we work with community organizations, and we provide these tools for them and their staff when they're working with others to help them get access to benefits. So this tool is another tool in their toolkit to help them make that process a lot easier for them to get benefits. So the first tool I'm going to show you is the Benefit Wayfinder. And I just want to say that it was generously sponsored by TD and supported as well by Maple Leaf Feed Opportunity, the Center for Food Security. And this tool is really for any Canadian living on low and modest incomes who would like to find what benefits are out there and see whether or not they're eligible. So as I mentioned, it's been written in very simple and intuitive language and navigation. It's can be considered to be a virtual guide. So it's going to help you navigate all the different types of benefits that are out there. And as I mentioned, written in very understandable language. It has information on benefits that you might be eligible to receive. And the types of benefits in there are federal, provincial, and territorial government benefits. And we're currently, one thing that a lot of people have asked us as they've used it was, what about municipal benefits or local benefits? So we're actually piloting at the moment, putting in municipal benefits. So in the future, we might have even more in there that might be applicable for you. The real key here, as I mentioned, it's a one-stop resource. So whereas you might have to go to government sites and provincial sites and try to search down a whole bunch of benefits individually, everything is put in one place here to make that search a lot easier. And we also have 4 different ways that you can search for benefits depending on what it is that you want to look for. And as mentioned, it can be used by yourselves individually. It could be used for you helping somebody else. And it's also used by community partners and practitioners to support the people that they work with as well. So I'm going to introduce you to Calvin. Calvin's going to be our person that I'm going to use as the example to take through and show you how we would search for benefits for him, which is the same method that you would use to search for benefits for yourself or for someone else. So Calvin lives in Newfoundland. He's 65 years of age and he's married. He has 2 adult children. One has moved out, but the second is living with a disability and lives with his parents. He is a citizen of Canada, and just recently he retired. Altogether, between his wife and himself, their household income is just under $60,000 a year. And he makes sure he does his taxes every year, which is really important since a lot of benefits you can only get by first filing your taxes. But he's really wondering, is he receiving all the benefits for which he might be eligible or for which his child with a disability might be eligible for? So what I'm going to do is switch over to our Benefits Wayfinder. And this is our landing page for the Wayfinder. And as you can see, the very first thing, I'm going to take you through a little overview of what you're going to find here. The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the top right-hand corner, and it has a drop down of all of the provinces and territories in Canada. And so we said that Calvin lives in Newfoundland. So we're going to go down to Newfoundland and select that. So when we go through this searching for benefits for him, it's going to be looking for any federal benefits that might be applicable, and then any within Newfoundland and Labrador that might be applicable. It has French and English, so you can switch to French if that's your preferred language. It also has what's called an agency portal, which I think those on the call may or may not be interested in, so maybe I'll leave that to the end. That's really for the community partners use, which has like extra training type resources for their staff and that kind of thing. At the bottom right-hand corner, there's this blue box that says Need Help. Find organizations that can help get you benefits. And this will appear on every page that you go through on this website. And when you click that, and it's also up on the menu bar at the end to the far right, either place, when you click that, you're going to get to a screen that's going to, first of all, give you an email that'll go to myself and my team, benefitswayfinder@prospercanada.org. And I should mention that if we don't get to all your questions, or if there's any questions in the chat, you can use this email to contact us directly. There's a little video that you can watch with an ASL version to understand how to use the website. And down below, when you scroll, for your province or territory, it's going to list organizations, and some of them are national organizations. So you might wonder why you're seeing British Columbia Aboriginal Network show up on Newfoundland. We also have organizations that also will accept inquiries and calls and questions across Canada in the listing. So you can go there for help. So if you go back here, I'm just going to take you through the different methods that you can search for benefits. The first way is called a starting point. So it's the second from the left on the top menu bar beside home. And when you click that, you're going to see a whole bunch of different sort of life transition or life situation options. So for example, if someone has just recently had a child and they're interested in what kind of benefits maybe they can get, you can click on caring for a child, And it's just going to give you a subset for federal and your province or territory that you've selected for caring for a child or anything related to that. Caring for an adult, same thing. If you're caring for an elderly person, like for a caregiver or someone who has a disability in your family, you can take a look and see what kind of benefits are available. Same with disability support. I won't go through them all, but you can get an idea that it has different scenarios, and it'll just group together the benefits that fit that scenario. But also talk about filing your taxes. So it's going to give you some resources on where you can go to get free tax filing. Because as I mentioned, a lot of benefits, and that's where a lot of people fall short on getting benefits, is that you need to file your taxes first to get ones that are like, for example, GST, HST rebate. You have to file your taxes to automatically have that route through to you. Same with the child benefit. But then there's also benefits where you have to file your taxes, but then you have to do an application form, but you still first have to file your taxes. So it's important to have resources to go to if you need to get your taxes filed. You can also search on benefits just broadly if you're already receiving benefits or if you're not receiving any. And now the subtlety between these two is already receiving benefits. I'm just going to click on that. So if you go through here and you say, Janet, I think I'm already receiving all the benefits that I'm entitled to. I'm pretty good at keeping up on what's new and out there. But what's important here is that there's a lot of benefits that are what we would call a gateway benefit, meaning you have to have that benefit first to, in effect, walk through the gate to access other benefits. So to give you an example, let's just say you say, I've already got the disability tax credit. So you click yes, I've already got this. Then it's going to say, hey, did you know that there's 5 more potential benefits you might be eligible for? So if you click that, it's going to show you what other benefits or like, for example, bonds that you might be able to get having already received the disability tax credit. So even if you think you have everything that you think you're eligible for, please do make sure you click on that for each benefit. Take a look to see if it's one that leads to other benefits that maybe you just weren't aware of, because they do every once in a while add extra benefits to ones that you already have. So that's one method. Another method is browse all benefits. So let's say, you're talking to a friend and they said, hey, you know what, I heard about this benefit that you might be interested in. Have you heard of it? And you're like, no, I don't know anything about that. What you can do is you can go to the browse all benefits and then just search specifically on that benefit name. And then it'll show up here, and then you can go and find out all about that benefit and whether that's something that applies to you and whether you would like to apply for it. So that's another method of searching. The one before where you look at the benefits that you have already and then see if there's any others, that's the third way. And then finally, there's a fourth method, which is the one I personally prefer because it's a more customized and tailored method. So it's going to look for your situation based on just 13 questions, and we do not keep any confidential personal information on this site whatsoever. And you can wipe it all out at the end, so don't worry about anything being kept. But it's called the questionnaire. So if you go to the questionnaire, it's going to have a series of questions that you can answer, and you can skip them if you don't want to answer it. But as I said, we do not store any of this information, so you're not at any risk. But what I'm going to do now is go through for Calvin and see how Calvin would go about completing the questionnaire and see what kind of list of benefits that he can consider. So the first question, which is, like we said, very important because a lot of benefits require tax filing, is, are you up to date on filing your taxes? So in Calvin's case, the answer is yes. So we're going to select that. But if you don't or haven't filed your taxes, don't despair, because there are lots of benefits that you can still get that do not require any taxes filing. And then you could go after those first until your taxes are completed. So the next one is, how old are you? So we know that Calvin is 65. And we said that Calvin is a Canadian citizen. And you'll see there's quite a range of options here that someone can choose. And it's very important because there are benefits that, require a certain citizenship or immigration status to get. So it's very important to have that answered. Are you looking for work? Well, in Calvin's case, we said he just recently retired. And his household income is just barely under 65,000, or sorry, yeah, 60,000. So he's in the 55 to 65 range. And we said that Calvin lives with his spouse and his one adult child. So there's 3 living in their home. And they do not care for anyone under the age of 18. And yes, there is someone in the household who's living with a disability. That's Calvin's and his spouse's child. And currently they own their own home, although they do have a mortgage still on their home. Nobody is expecting a child. And they've lived in Canada for more than 20 years. And they did not have a parent or spouse who's a Canadian veteran. And that question's in there because there are benefits for Canadian veterans or their family. And do you have a spouse or parent who had lived in Canada and passed away? And the answer is no, but again, that's asked because there are benefits that do have survivor benefits. So it's important to note that. So it gives you an option to preview what you've input first before you submit. And you can go in and you can do an edit if you wanted to change any of this. We're going to leave it as yes. And you can go through. And we're comfortable with everything. So at the very bottom, at the end of all the questions, you can submit. And you'll say, great job. So based on what Calvin put in on his personal situation, there were 21 recommended benefits that he and or his family might be eligible for. And we'll take a look at them on the dashboard. So I'm just going to run through, and first of all, you'll see if this pop-up comes up first. And this is a little bit of a warning to let people know that, we found these benefits that you may be eligible for based on the questionnaire answers. Doesn't necessarily mean you are eligible for them all, but based on what you've done, it's gathered up those ones to take a look at. But if someone does not have an immigration status or temporary status in Canada, then we highly recommend that you go to a legal clinic first to find out about benefits that you might be eligible for, because we don't want you to go through the whole process only to find that you're not eligible. And we have a link here that goes to the Canada's Legal Aid Program website, where they do offer free legal services if you need that. So we take a look at the dashboard. I'm just going to walk you through how to read it because it might look a little bit complicated. On the left-hand side, there's this little section here that's almost like a summary of what you're going to do when you look through this. So here's the 20. And earlier I had looked at this benefit, the disability tax credit, and I had clicked on it that I already had it. So it's already done that for me here, saying I already receive it. So in total, we do have the 21 benefits. As we go through and look at them, you'll be able to answer whether it's something you're interested in following up on, if it's something you're already receiving, or you say, you know what, this totally has nothing to do with me. I'm going to remove it, and it'll take it off your dashboard. But it'll always keep track of it on this left-hand side. And even if you remove something, if you click on it, it'll take you to that benefit. If at a later date, maybe circumstances have changed and it's now applicable for you. Then we have here a way to sort. So 21, you might say, oh boy, that's a lot of benefits to take a look at. I don't know if I'm going to get to them all in time, or maybe I should look at certain ones in, before others. You can decide as you go through how you would like to take a look at it. So I'll show you how we set priority. It's going to be like low, medium, high. You could just go, I'm just going to tackle it from beginning of the alphabet to the end. You could do that. Or you can say, I have filed my taxes. I think I want to take a look at the ones that, require that. Or, you know what, I just haven't gotten to my taxes. I think I'll just tackle ones where you don't have to worry about filing your taxes. So you can sort it in whatever order you prefer to go through it. So I'm just going to show you here. Oh, and I'm going to show you this first too. You can print all of these out on a printer if you are someone who prefers to look at a hard copy, or you can download it to a PDF if you like to save a copy of it online. So you say, I'm not going to look at this today, but I'm going to save it on my computer, and at a future date, I'm going to look at it. Another way you can save it is called Save My Session, which is pretty neat. And what this does is you can copy the URL that all this dashboard has shown up on, and then you can email it to yourself, or if you're doing this on behalf of somebody else, you can email it to them. And what's really neat about this is it's going to send you an email, and it's going to have the link. And at a future date, you can just go into that email, click the link, and even if you've gone out of your browser and cleared this session, it's going to give you this exact dashboard as you see it today. So you do not have to go through the questionnaire again, unless you wanted to, if something's changed. So it's another way to save the dashboard without having to keep your browser open. So taking a look at each benefit, when you take a look, it'll give you a little description of what the benefit is, kind of the kind of dollar amount you can expect that it might give you if you're eligible. It's going to tell you whether it's a complex or easy application. We used to actually have a medium one, but there was hardly any that came up as a medium, so we ended up just leaving it as complex or easy. Complex being there's multiple steps to get it, and or multiple people that might have to get involved in the application process. Again, whether tax filing is required or not. And then what identification would you need to do? So, for someone who's perhaps new to Canada and hasn't gotten all their SIN yet, or whatever information, it'll tell you what at a minimum you need to have to apply. Then this is where you can rank this one. So Calvin has, as we mentioned, one of his children has a disability. He's never heard about the disability tax credit. And he's like, I think this is a high. I need to know what about this. So when you go back up to the top and you do your priority listing, as you go through, it'll have all the highs listed first. Or if he said, you know what, I'm already getting this, and we did already click this on another page. But if you've said you're receiving it already, it'll have this little indicator saying I'm already receiving it. So you know that you don't need to worry about that. So I'll just show you there's lots here, and then one specific to Newfoundland and one specifically federal. So it'll have both. So once you go to here, then you're going to click, let's say that Calvin hasn't actually received this, but he's really interested in this one. So if you click on it, it's going to take you to more detail. So this is the disability tax credit. It's going to repeat this information. It's going to tell you which benefits this one will lead to if you have it. And all of these links are live links to the source documentation. So this disability tax credit link is going to take you to the Government of Canada Disability Tax Credit site, where you can find the actual application forms. Some of the benefits are in the disability benefit compass, which I'll show you next. So if it does tell you it is, you can go straight there because that is a more in-depth step-by-step guide for the four key disability benefits, which take a lot more effort and nuances. So we've got that separate. In here, it'll tell you what the eligibility is, what the identifications needed, and then again, what the steps to apply are, and exactly the link to go to exactly what you need. So that in a nutshell is, I know I've gone through that pretty quick, that's the Benefits Wayfinder. So I'm just going to go back to the dashboard. So let's say, you're helping somebody else and you've gotten one here. You always have to remember to clear my session, or the next time you go to the same browser, it's going to leave that dashboard information in within the same session. So if I go, like right now, go back to home, it'll always keep that there. So you want to clear it. And then when you go back to home and take a look at dashboard, it's gone. And then your questionnaire will be all fresh again to fill out. So if you're doing multiple people on the same browser, then you want to clear that session. So now I'm going to move to the Disability Benefit Compass. And you'll see that the look and feel is very similar to the Wayfinder because it's what we call a companion tool to the Wayfinder. And this one came out of the fact that people were saying, like, the disability benefits are very crucial, but a lot of people don't apply for them for many reasons. One is that they can't find a doctor to diagnose. As we all hear in the news all the time, there's people have a lot of trouble finding doctors. A lot of people hear from others that, oh, you know what, it's so complex. It was so exhausting. It was re-traumatizing. Yeah, forget about doing it. A lot of people just told us, we just heard it was hard and we just decided, no, we're not going to do it. Or some people started it and then realized, this is way harder than I thought. I'm just going to forget about it. Now, I have to give kudos to the government because they have significantly improved upon the processes for the disability benefits. But we find that people still would like to have more help and information on how to apply for them. So here I'm just going to select, I'll select British Columbia. I think we had someone in the chat ask about benefits or recommendations in British Columbia. So you're going to select again, either in the pop-up when you first go in, or in the top right-hand corner, there's the drop down for your province or territory. You'll see it's very similar to the other one in that you have your dual languages. You have your need help or get help button on each page. A little bit different here because this site was fully reviewed by a consultant that does accessibility. So it's being created and designed to be fully accessible. And you'll see also there's a light dark mode, which is available in this one, which you won't have in the Wayfinder. Some people prefer to have the dark mode for viewing. It also has a glossary of key terms, which was deemed to be something very important when it came to medical related applications. And it also has a compilation of all the resources throughout the site at the resource section. If you go to the home, the key difference is that this one only has 4 key disability benefits in it. So we worked with Disability Alliance BC and Plan Institute, and we had an evaluator, SRDC, in British Columbia to develop this tool originally as a pilot in British Columbia. And it was so successful that we ended up expanding it across all of Canada. So that's why we have all the provinces and territories in here. But the key difference is that we said to them, what at a minimum should someone living with a disability or someone who has a family member or they're working with someone with a disability, what are the key benefits that they need to know about if they don't already? So that's what this website is for. If you say you right off the bat, you know what, I already have all 4, you can always go back. Up here on the top right of the menu bar is a Benefit Wayfinder link to take you back to the Wayfinder. Because if I just quickly show you the Wayfinder, in the starting points, we did have disability benefit as one of the subgroups. You can look to see any other additional benefits besides the 4 we're showing you in the deep dive in here. So the 4 that we have is for every province and territory, you're going to have whatever the provincial or territorial income assistance for disability is. In the case of British Columbia, it's the Persons with Disabilities designation. And then everybody else is going to get the same ones, except for Quebec. So where we have Canada Pension Plan, of course, we'll have the Quebec Pension Plan there. Everyone will see the Disability Tax Credit, and everybody will see the Registered Disability Savings Plan. So they're going to, anyone who goes in here will have 4 key benefits. So like I said, you go, oh, Janet, you know what? I'm really on top of things. I've got all these. Fantastic. And that's when you can go back to the Wayfinder. But if you don't, then you would decide which one you'd like to start with. And then the difference with this site to the other site is in every province and territory, we work with experts who have gone through this process of these disability benefits. And we have essentially done a brain dump from them into this tool to include frequently asked questions that they encounter at each step of the application process, resources that they have developed or they have pointed us to that are really helpful for certain aspects of the application form. Any tips at each step that they think, hey, tell them about this at this step, because this is something that comes up that people need to know about. And it was, again, written similarly in very plain and user-friendly language. It'll tell you a little bit of what to expect throughout, and there's also a video as well in ASL as well that talks about the benefits. And then anywhere where you see a blue box, it's important information to read before you go any further. So in this particular case, it's saying, before you apply for any benefits, you are going to need a doctor and/or a medical professional to fill out these forms. So before you go any further, if you don't have a doctor who knows you and knows your medical history, you need to have one. And so one of the resources that we added in here is a link that'll go to a page that will give you every province and territory and where you can go to try to search for a doctor or medical practitioner. So let's assume you do have a doctor, they do know you, they'll be able to complete that part of the application form. So I'm just going to show you what's the uniqueness of this. And I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom first. So we have what's called resource cards. And this is resources that the people with disabilities that we worked with and the staff at the organizations said, hey, here's really important information that people need to know about. And so we've got these card links where you can go to on these various topics, and these cards will show up at the applicable part of the application flow. So again, here's a really cool one that Disability Alliance BC created. It's a tool that's, and again, everything we put on here is free of charge, where you can go through this this amazing tool that at the end will pump out a form that will show you in wording based on how you answered it, that you can hand to your doctor to help them fill out the form. Because that's one of the complaints we heard a lot, was that the doctors just really didn't feel comfortable filling out the form, or didn't really know what the right wording what was, and that has resulted in a lot of declines and multiple declines in some cases until the wording's gotten right. How to get a social insurance number. So a lot of different things that people said, these are things that come up regularly that people need to know about. So I'm just going to quickly look at the disability tax credit. Similar to in the other tool, it'll give you a little information about, what you can expect to get from that and what it is. This part looks very similar and gives you a little description, and you'll see what's different is we have an introduction, we have the eligibility, the apply, and what's different is in the apply, it's a step-by-step application process, which includes all those value add knowledge of those who've done this before. It also gets into what happens after you apply. Like if you're approved, what do you have to do? If you're declined, what do you have to do? And then it accumulates all frequently asked questions and resources for that particular benefit at the end. So I'm just going to show you very quickly in the interest of time here. So you can see here, it'll give a little description of what the benefit is. It's going to have a little warning in the blue boxes. So, warning, this might take you several months from the beginning to end. So be patient. It's going to have any frequently asked questions that have come up at this step at the very beginning. And then if you go to eligibility, again, all the links go to the government site for that particular item. Any questions that come up at this step, any tips that those who've gone through this before want to give you at this point. And then the apply is in very easy step by step. So you'll see here, first question, do you have Form T2201 to fill out and sign? So yes, will always take you to the next step. No, or I'm not sure, will take you to, okay, what do I need to do to get a T2201? So it's going to go through and tell you the steps with all the links and any special kind of key things that you should know in different sections will be in here. And again, any frequently asked questions for that particular step. And that'll be continued all the way through to get to the end. And then after you apply, what do you do? So again, what to expect? What happens if I'm approved? Like, how do I claim the disability tax credit? You know, what if I need help getting my taxes done? And if you're denied, okay, what do I do now? Like, do I give up? Which unfortunately a lot of people do. Or, you know, what are my options? What can I do to, you know, try again? Or if I need help, you know, filling out it again, where can I go for help? So that, again, in a very quick manner, is an overview of the Disability Benefits Compass tool. And so next, I don't know, Ken, if there's any burning questions, if I should just continue on to the next tool.
You want to take a break and I'll put a few questions in?
Oh, sure. Yep, that sounds perfect.
Sure. I've got 7 of them written down here.
Okay.
And these are good questions. Is disability income included with household income when you're applying for things? I would presume that it is, unless it's purely employed income, but I would presume it's household income of all sorts.
Yeah, I think it almost depends on like individually on the benefit, because I know with a lot certain benefits, depending on how you get it, like if you get it through a work plan where you've paid it with after-tax dollars, any benefit you may not have to claim on your taxes. So I think I'd hate to say yes or no, because I think it really depends on what the source of that income is. So I'd almost refer you to a tax person for that. I wouldn't be qualified to make that statement.
Yeah, it's interesting because, of course, what is your household income will be a factor in a lot of cases.
Right, right.
I think that it would be included. What it'll come down to is on any tax return, there's gross income, net income, adjusted net income, and then taxable income. And just before you get to taxable, the social benefits are stripped out. So if it's part of gross household income, then yes. But if it turns on your taxable income, then it wouldn't. Will the software tell people what they're missing if they don't file their taxes? I see that it tells people what they would qualify for, but you have to file taxes maybe to get it. I think that's the right approach here. But
yeah, I think in the tool itself, there's I mentioned that there's on each benefit, it'll say whether tax filing is required or tax filing is not required. So if you like take a look at whatever benefits have come up for you, and if you have not filed your taxes, you can very clearly see which benefits require tax filing, and in effect, those would be ones that you would miss out on if you haven't filed your taxes.
Exactly.
And you can also sort in the dashboard. You can sort on, like if you chose to sort by, you know, requires tax filing or doesn't, then you'd be able to visually see which ones that you may be missing if you didn't file your taxes.
Nicole wants to know, how do you get to Compass from Wayfinder?
Okay, yes, let me go back and show you that. So here, under the starting points in the Wayfinder, we went to disability support. And then the very first box here says view the disability benefits compass for more information on the 4 key disability benefits. So you can just click there, and then it's going to take you to the compass. And then within the disability, within the benefit Wayfinder, like for example, if we're pull up this one. If we're in the disability tax credit within the Wayfinder, there's a little box that says, hey, go to the Disability Benefits Compass for more information, including this step-by-step guide. So there again, you can just click from there to go straight to the disability tax credit in the Compass. And then, as I mentioned, you can go back to the Wayfinder on the top right hand corner of the menu bar to go back to the Wayfinder.
Okay. Anne Marino wants to know if we will send the recording out. Yes, we will. Everybody who's registered will get it. And what I ask is that when you receive it, that you pass it on to as many people as you think might find it beneficial. Karen asks if we, this is a good one for you. If we know a benefit's not on a list, how do we contact you?
Bent, I love that question. Thank you for that question.
That's great.
So if you go to the help page, and you'll see here Benefits Wayfinder at prospercanada.org. You can click on that and send an email there saying, hey, there's this great benefit that you don't have on your tool, and you need to add it. So please do. As well, if you know of any organizations, because in our help, as I mentioned, we have the organizations who have said, hey, put us on your website because we can help people with these various things. If you know of any and they would like to be added into our list of organizations who can help people, we'll very gladly add them to the list, as long as they provide free service. And I should mention too that the benefits we have on the Benefit Wayfinder are benefits that either increase income or decrease expenses, because there's lots of other benefits that like maybe have access to information files, for example. That it's debatable if that's increasing income or not, or decreasing expenses, but that's our criteria for the type of benefits that we put on the tool.
Yeah, for example, the Canada Disability Benefit is supposed to come into effect in June of 2025.
Right.
I imagine that's not written in yet.
Right, exactly. So and I should that's a good segue to how do we keep this up to date. So 2 times a year we do a formal, thorough go through every single benefit and make sure that it's current. All links are still working, all dollar amounts are correct, all no wording has changed, no applications have changed. But in between those periods of time, we monitor any news on any benefits that might newly be created or newly be changed, or such as the question we just received. If we just missed it and you tell us at any time during the year, we'll definitely look at it and put it on the Wayfinder. So combination of all those things is our number one thing, is to keep this accurate. It's absolutely of no use to anyone, as you all know, if it's not as up to date as it can be.
It's actually phenomenal. The software is excellent. It must have taken a lot of resources and commitment to do this.
Oh yes, and I should mention, which is kind of a neat fact, the Benefit Wayfinder started out years ago at St. Mike's Hospital with a few other medical associates, where they found a need with some of the patients that were coming in. They realized didn't have the funds for either the therapy or the medication that they needed, and they thought it was really important to kind of understand what their needs were and kind of connect them to any benefits that might help them. So they actually did it in a paper form, and it was before my time at Prosper Canada, but they had met with Prosper Canada and said, hey, we'd like to improve this. And together they created this online version, and it's gone through many, many iterations over the years. It was actually tested out in food community groups had done it. And so it's vastly been improved both in content and in navigation over that time. So that's one thing we're still looking into doing. As I mentioned, we're piloting this year and the next year, putting municipal benefits in. So yeah, it's constantly improving. And if you have any improvement suggestions as you go through it, like definitely please feed that to us as well.
Marie asks, is there a fee for the doctor to complete the T2201? Well, the doctor does get a small payment, like $20 or something. But two things. One is don't just give the blank form to the doctor. That's a waste of time. You have to have it completed such that it's going to be successful. And a lot of times the person presents themselves very well. I recall a very nice woman who had some mental health issues. And of course, she had a doctor and she moved away towards St. Thomas, but she kept commuting back and forth to see the same doctor. And of course, she only goes if she's in a good mood or a good place. So of course, the doctor's impression of her is on her best side. So what we do is we offer to pay a fee of, say, $200. The doctor usually declines, but sometimes it's the motivating factor. Not much, rarely, but it's certainly a courtesy to offer to respect them. And then we prepare the forms for the T2201 such that it's likely to be successful, and we give it to the doctor, or more often the assistant, because they can stick it under the doctor's nose and then they can sign it. And as a courtesy, we also submit the first part, Part A, completed, and the rest blank. Occasionally, doctors want to fill it in themselves. All we care about is whether they do the same as we've completed it. So, of course, it can't be sent by them to CRA. It has to be taken over and reviewed. There's no sense submitting an application that's not going to succeed. It's just a waste of time. And you will. That's one of the next questions we're going to see here. You'll find doctors that just, there's an old saying, what's the difference between a doctor and God? Well, God doesn't think he's a doctor.
Oh, but
let's see here, just like when your family physician rejects your disability application multiple times, then what are the next steps? Well, common thing, it's similar to when doctors retire, right? If you either can't get it done for one reason or another, then you have to find another doctor. You can often, well, it's easier now. As you know, our medical system is very screwed up. And these nurse practitioner clinics that are springing up, they're going to be a godsend. They're going to take some pressure off the system that's not delivering services. And they're going to have some fees. Yeah, that's true. But it's going to take some weight off of the system and the wait lines, which is to everybody's advantage. A nurse practitioner can sign these forms as well as a doctor. And then, of course, there are others for different kinds of disabilities, like audiologists and so on. So offer to pay, fill out the form to start with, so the doctor just has to sign it. And then make sure you look at it after it's signed and you submit it to Canada Revenue, not the doctor. Let's see here. For TFSAs, do you look at the balance or the contribution amount? I don't quite understand that. I need to reapply for DTC for my son. Can I get a copy of the previous application from CRA? You should be able to. But again, you see, if you had this form filled out by the doctor, you should have kept a copy. So if the doctor submits it, you don't have a copy. And it wouldn't be a necessity for the doctor to have a copy either. And if you're just the father, unless you have a power of attorney for personal care, he can't disclose it to you. So you have to be careful with these things. What is your presentation later that you were talking about? Well, it's this show repeated tomorrow at noon. And if you go back to the invitation, you can sign up for that as well if you wish. Can you give the Benefits Wayfinder website again? Thank you. Please slow down when explaining this. So she'd like to see it again.
yeah, and let me just put the link to the Wayfinder in the chat if I can do that. Oh, I don't have access. That doesn't look like. But it's up here. If you can see it on my screen here, it's https:// all one word, benefitswayfinder.org.
Okay, good, thanks. Question here from Nicole. Are health condition specific benefits also listed? Example, if someone has occupation-related chronic lung disease. Nicole, I think it's just a matter of if you have lung disease. I doubt that it has anything to do with the cause of it. Now that might deal with workman's comp or some such thing, but as far as these benefits, it's not usually a case of, well, how did you incur this injury? Once you approve the disability benefit, will you need to have the form completed each year, or is this a one-time event? It's usually a one-time event, although often they set some, you'll get a letter saying you're approved from this year to that year, or you're approved and don't submit another one unless we ask you. Sometimes the child is approved until age 18, as if, becoming an adult's going to change something. And in other cases, you have conditions that obviously aren't going to change, autism and Down syndrome and so on. But what happens is there's a box at the end for the doctor to tick. This is another point of slippage. And it says, is the patient going to improve? Yes, no, unsure. And so if the problem is doctors are honest and intelligent, and if they feel that they're unsure, they tick unsure. So as a result, the CRA looks at this thing and says, well, the doctor's unsure. Let's have them apply again in 5 years. So that's one of the things to look for when you tick the box. Put no, because if you know that this is going to happen. Okay, what else? What is the annual maximum support amount for an adult under 65 qualifies for the DTC? How does this amount compare with the average Canadian poverty level threshold? What it does is, if you pay taxes, it reduces your taxes by about $1,600. It's not income. It's just a reduction in taxes owing. Can a person on ODSP pay into CPP in order to get CPP when they're over 65? If you're working, you're obliged to contribute to CPP. You can be on ODSP, and if you are the person with the disability, you can make up to $1,000 a month in Ontario without affecting ODSP. And then beyond that, for every dollar you lose 75 cents. So it's I calculated just the other day, but you can see there's a calculation, because it's about $1,500 a month, I think. A little more than that, because if what you're getting is $1,308 a month, and that's 75% of some number that disqualifies you, pretty easy to calculate what that is. It's a third of 1,308 on top of 1,308, and that's how much per month you can make until you completely eradicate ODSP. So it's $1,000 a month plus whatever that number is, that is 130% of 1,308. What's that? 1,308 plus 400, 450, so about 1,750. Is there help for getting a power of attorney for health for the child that has Down syndrome? If the child is competent, yeah, sure, you can do it. And there are kids with Down syndrome that are competent, but if they're not, you can't. That would lead you to a discussion about legal guardianship. Legal guardianship isn't normally required until you're older. People muddle through being the ODSP trustee, being the substitute decision maker for personal care if the child is not competent. They can be the account holder for the RDSP. So all you have to do then, in order to file taxes, which you must file, is you have to pretend you're the child, or have them sign a power of attorney, even if it's not truly valid, on the basis that there's a presumption of competence. And then when you submit that to Canada Revenue, they don't question it. So either, I can't advise you to do this. Of course, this isn't legal advice. But what I've heard people do is that they go online and represent the kid as themselves. And of course, this isn't illegal. You're not stating anything false. And in fact, all you're doing is what Canada Revenue wants you to do. And why there's no special medical exemption to allow parents and siblings to file these tax returns, as there is in other cases, like the medical exemption to dispense with a picture and a signature for OHIP cards? Why is there no such medical exemption by Canada Revenue to file the tax returns of a not competent person? Right? So anyway, for DTC, there's an online app now. Yes, that's true. We don't do that. There's certain lawyers that can help with all this. What are they called? They're called lawyers. You'd have to find somebody who specializes or know this sort of thing. Lawyers are good at solving problems, so if you take a problem to one, I'm sure they could help you. Obviously, we could help you if you wish. How does guardianship fit into this? I suggest that you contact us. There's a family evaluation form on our website. If you fill out the family evaluation form, then we'll respond and we'll explain where guardianship fits and whether it's something you need to do now. How do you prove that there's competence? It's a matter of proving lack of competence. People are presumed to be competent, but you can largely tell whether a person is competent to manage property or personal care. That's sufficient. And if you need to, you could get a letter from a doctor. His RDSP grants have stopped and they will not speak to me anymore without guardianship. Yeah, okay. You are the account holder. What you should do is look at who it is that won't talk to you. And if it happens to be somebody at the bank, move the RDSP to someplace else, because you are the account holder. 2 kids with autism. No, can't answer that. For her taxes, do I use her my account? Sure, use her my account. Okay, so we're going to go back to Benefits Wayfinder. You got anything further to add? It's 10 after 7.
Oh, how much more time do I have? I have 2 more tools I can show, but I don't want to keep people.
Go ahead, and what will happen is we have 232 people. We did have 259, and as they get tired of it, they're going to leave. So just keep showing people stuff.
Okay, sure. So I just have 2 more tools to show, and I won't go into the same level of detail. This is very top level. So one is called the RDSP Calculator, and this one essentially will help parents or people, Canadians with disabilities, calculate what kind of benefit entitlements that they would get using the RDSP calculator. So if you just scroll down from the site, there's like a little tutorial that'll tell you about it. There's the calculator, and there's also a downloadable guide that goes into more detail about the RDSP. But I'll just quickly show you the calculator. And you see it's very easy step-by-step. It just asks you for the information regarding your RDSP and all the contribution type information, and then it'll calculate, and it'll kind of a nice little tool that you can use if you haven't already done this type of exercise. It was developed in partnership with Prosper Canada and Plan Institute, and it's really managed by Plan Institute. So if you do have any questions on using it, you can go to them and they will help you with it. The second one I was going to show you is called the Future Planning Tool. And so this one also was created in partnership with Plan Institute as well. And of course, they are the ones that if you did have any questions on it, you can go directly to Plan Institute. But really, it's to go through and help you, anyone who's living with a disability, to plan out the future and think about what type of things need you think about in terms of the future. And you can either just go to Start My Plan, or it'll go through and there's like a downloadable guide as well that will describe how to use the tool and what the content is. And again, it's a nice user-friendly way to think of all the different aspects that if you're setting goals or looking to the future for yourself or someone else in your family with a disability. So I just wanted to just quickly show you those two tools. And Ken, are we going to be sharing out to the group my presentation? Because we do have live links in the presentation to each of these sites that I've mentioned.
Do you mean, are we going to send the recording to people?
No, well, yes, but my PowerPoint presentation, are we going to be sending a PDF of that as well?
It'll be included with the recording. Is that what you mean?
Well, just that if they have a copy of my presentation, within it, I have all the live links that they can click
I see.
on.
You mean, will it be sent as an attachment?
Right.
I see. Well, Christiane will be sending that out. We try to not send attachments because they wind up in junk, but I can have her try that, sure.
Okay. If not, that's fine, because when you go to if you're to go to the, let's see it here. I don't have it up here, but if you're just to do a search on Prosper Canada and then you go to tools, you'll have the links to these two that I just mentioned as well.
Okay. I'll ask her. She'll send it out in a few days.
Okay.
She usually sort of truncates the first part of it, and you know. Okay, let me just see. So we've had 43 questions so far, which is, I think, good. Oh, here's a follow-up to the household income. Not really a question, but when it comes to the question, how much money does everyone in the household together make in 1 year? My daughter lives with me, but as she is an adult, in my view, she's independent from me, and therefore I would not include my income for this question. If she was married or with a partner, then I would agree that both incomes would be counted as a household. Yeah, and I think you're right. It turns on what is the household. So it's an awkward sort of question, but it may be that you're right. William says, thank you. And Elena says, so could you also put the links of the website in the email? Just a thought. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I apologize to everyone. Usually I put the links in the chat, but I'm not finding anywhere to put it in the Zoom.
Yeah, sure, we'll do that. Okay, well, it's 7:15. That's when we usually close off. There's 213 people. I think it's probably time to let people go and have a cup of tea and go to bed.
Well, thank you again for having me share these tools, and I hope they're useful for you. And again, welcome any feedback or improvements or information that you'd like to share.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Excellent presentation. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.